A good vach, short of. We're learning Ezer Neshek. The good thing is we're slowly coming towards the end. Ezer Neshek was a very difficult parak. We only have a few more blocks to go. We are up to the ayin base on the base at the very bottom of the page, 2 lines from the bottom of the page. So we have 3 cases here. Case number 1, 2 lines from the bottom of the page. Tana Rabbanan, our Rabbanan learned, Hamelech Chavila Memakim Lemakim. If somebody takes a package from one place to another place, and at one place the price was less, and one place the price was more. The guy bought it.
Yeah, but look at these guys.
Sorry. And it was taking it from a cheaper place to a more expensive place. And his friend met him. He said to him, look, Tanali, give me the fruits that you bought over here. Where I have ayin beis on the base, the very last line. Some of you learned it already. He said, Tanali, give me what you have over here, and I will bring it up to you there, and I will sell it. So on. And I will use the money for my own purposes, and then I will pay you. In other words, the fruits that are over here are worth $20. These same fruits are going to be worth $40 there, and you plan to take it up there, and you're going to sell it. I'm going to borrow it from you right now. I won't give it to me. I'll take it. So I'm taking only $20 worth of fruit, but I'm telling you that I'll meet you up there in that other city, and I'm going to get there before you, so I can sell it and get $40, and I'll make some profit. I'll do other things with this money, and then I will pay you the value of the fruits of that city, which is $40. So, I mean, that looks just like ribis in a way, because I'm borrowing right now this place $20, but I'm paying you back is $40. So we say it depends. Is bishus moicher, if the moicher takes full responsibility of this chabila, of these items, these fruits, until you get there and then you sell it, which means at this stage it's not a loan yet. When does it become a loan? Only after they sell it. And when they sold it, it was $40 worth of fruits. So therefore, or they borrowed the $40. And eventually they're going to pay them back $40. So there's no ribus over here. But b'shus lekeach, if this person who is taking the fruit from him, the buyer, is taking it, is responsible from now on, then it's like a loan. And what did he borrow? $20 worth of fruits. And he's going to pay back $40 worth. That's his ribus. That is case number 1. Case number 2. Hamelech paid us memakim lemakim. If somebody, let's say, takes fruits, again, from one place to another place, for example, you take it from one place, region A, where the fruits are cheap, and you're taking it to region B, where the fruits are more expensive. And his friend found him, he said to him, Tnomli, and give them to me right now. So what's he giving them? Let's say $20 worth of fruits. But I'm going to pay you back with the same payers, identical, similar payers in that city. And over there, what I'm going to give the same amount of fruits, but what I'm giving back is $40 worth of fruits because it's a much more expensive place. The very same fruits in that other city is $40. I just saw that when I was in America, and we were buying fruits and vegetables for Pesach and comparing it to in Australia. Starting from the Murr, where over there we paid, what do you pay? We pay $4.50 a pound, so like $9 for a kilo, and here you pay $140 for a kilo. You see the difference between one place, region A and region B. So he said, look, give me the fruits in region A, which are cheap, all these fruits, and I'm going to give you the same amount of fruits back in the other place, but obviously the value is a lot more. So we had before that, if you prepay for something, which is exactly what he's doing here, we said there are 2 ways that you're allowed to prepay for something. One is because the possibility the prices is going to be higher by the time I pay back. So that the reason why I'm not paying the extra money is because you had use of my money. That's ribis. But there are 2 exceptions. One is if the price is already fixed right now, that means this price of $20 for this amount of fruit you could buy anywhere today. So therefore, even though I'm going to pay him back in 2-3 months' time, it might be worth $40 what I'm giving back to him, because we could have paid back straight away. Could have bought the fruits anywhere and give it back to me. It's as if you already gave it back to me, and we're very lenient. Or the other alternative is that im yeshlei, if the person already had the fruits similarly, just didn't have access to it at the moment, or he just couldn't be bothered, so as if he gave it back to me. Now, the reason why we are so lenient is because it's not really ribis. This is not ribis from the Torah. Ribis from the Torah is a straight out loan. I lend you $100, pay me back $120. That's called ribis tzutza. This is really a commercial decision here, or a commercial act. We're buying and selling, but because it looks like ribis, or you have use of my money, so it looks like I lent it to you, even though it's buying and selling. So that's why we are selling it. So in this case here as well, if the person who's buying it at this place in the city place already has these fruits up there in that other place, it's as if he's holding it for this guy, and any increase in value is the lender's increase. Mut, is forbidden. That's case number two. Case number three. That what about chamorim? People who ride donkeys and they carry freight from one place to another place, and they take, let's say, they buy it, they take things from a cheaper place, and then they go to a more expensive place and they sell it to make a profit. So chamorim, mailim b'mokum hayeker ki b'mokum hazel. They're allowed to take, so they're allowed to, let's say, borrow money in an expensive place from people and say to them, we're going to, you know what, we're going to pay you back or borrow fruits, and we're going to pay you back. You know, you gave us $20 for the fruits, and this place was expensive. We are going to go to the cheap place, and we're going to bring you back $20 worth of fruits, which is worth a lot more. Which is worth a lot more. The ain't and we're not worried about ribis in this case. Now the question is, why aren't we worried about ribis? Because it's a clear case of ribis. They go into the guy in an expensive place, and for $20 you get 10 fruits, and they say to them, but we're going to bring you back $20 worth of fruits from the cheap place which you're traveling to. You'll get 20 fruits. Why isn't that a case of ribis? So we say it follows. Papa says the reason why. Sorry, we're not worried about ribis here at all. My time, but why aren't we worried about ribis here at all? This is the case of ribis because they're actually buying the tavua in a cheap place. They're buying with the $20 worth of the fruit they got in a place, and they're not, and they're bringing it back to the expensive place. And since they paid the real value of the fruits, they bought $20 worth of fruits. So even though it's more than the original amount, they're allowed to. Why? All the work and effort that they did because the guy lent them the money. Isn't that a case of ribas paying back? So Gemara gives two reasons. The bottom line is they didn't do it. These people who went ahead and bought the fruits in the cheap place, and they didn't, and they borrowed money from an expensive place. They didn't do it to help out the lender. They did it to help themselves out. And how is that? So Gemara gives two explanations how they did it to benefit themselves. These borrowers did it to benefit themselves, to go to the cheap place, and that is Rapapa says the more they buy, even though they're doing a favor to somebody else, but when they come in, instead of buying $10 worth of fruits, they buy $200 worth of fruits. Then the person that they're buying from the cheap place thinks, these are really big business people. You will give them credit. Otherwise, if they're just coming, they're a small business person, they come in, they want to buy $10, $20 worth of fruits, they're not going to get any credit because the guy thinks you're not a person of substance, not a person of means. Why would I trust you? But if they come in and they buy a substantial amount, then they're given credit so they can buy for themselves as well. So they're doing all the work that they're doing and schlepping all the way down here and buying, for the same $20, buying many more fruits. It's not to help those people out, help themselves out, because now they have a much better credit. Or Rabbi Achavika says they like it because they're going to get a cheaper price. The more bulk they buy, the cheaper the price. And also, the person who is selling it to them understands what they're doing, and they need to make a little bit of profit. If they're going to buy so much from me, and all they're doing is buying at the same price that they're going to sell it on, what's the point? I have to give them a few percentage points so that they can make some commission. So therefore, they get a better rate. My benaya, what is the difference between these two reasons? Whether it's because of credit, because they get a better rate. So bottom line is they're not working on behalf of the lenders, so they're giving them ribas. They're working on their own behalf because they benefit from coming and getting this, buying all this extra bulk. They're benefiting themselves either for credit or they're getting a better price. Ike benaya, the difference is tag lecharata. If they are a new seich, they're new buyer. And the difference Rashi says, which is a little hard to understand, but Rashi says that the new buyer, they'll be given credit, but they won't necessarily get the better price because they're not trusted so much that they're selling it at the price that they're claiming they're selling it at another place. The Rif says exactly the opposite. That he says credit, a new buyer, why would anybody give them credit? Otherwise, the other way around, you won't give them credit. But give him a bit of a discount since you're getting paid up front, then you don't mind.
I don't know why does the Gemara comes up with these extraneous reasons, but if you actually pull it to pieces, it's ribis midaraisa. So how can you come up with these, justify that?
None of this is ribas deraisa. All these three cases. Ribas deraisa, as I told you before, only one particular case: straight out loan. I lend you money and you give me back 120. But if we do like a commercial thing here, that you give me fruits and I'll give you back fruits, which is called saw, even though the price might go up, and it looks like it's ribas, it only looks like ribas because this is business. It's not a straight out loan.
Right. So for it to be ribis deraisa, you have to have money and it has to be loaned.
Straight out loan is ribas deraisa. Everything else is rabban. That's why we have all of these exceptions where we permit things. So the Gemara continues. Besura. In Surah, Azli Arbo. In Surah, for example, you buy 4 bushels of wheat for, let's say, a seller. That's the price that's in Surah. However, in Kfari, in another city, let's say in Kfari, Azla Shisa. In Kfari, you buy 6 saw for a seller. In other words, the price is a lot cheaper, 50% cheaper in Kfari than in Surah. So once Yoiv Rav gave Zuzah lechamari, Rav gave money to these people who travel back and forth, these donkey riders. The Kabul alei oinza de archa, and Rav said, I take full responsibility that if anything happens with the fruit or whatever it is, anything happens, you are what do you call it? Not you are part from it. And v'shakul menayu chamisha. In other words, he gave them what do you call it? He bought he got them to buy and he paid them not the full. He took from them not the full 6 that they made, and not the full 6 saw that they bought. He took 5 saw. There's more ask a question. V'nishko shisa. Why didn't he take? Since the law is he could take 6 saw, then for each seller, why did he only take 5 saw from them? Gemara says. Why did it take 6, which entitled to? So we answer Adam Chashav Shiny. We said that since he's a Chashav person, even though that he said what you said before, that you're allowed to go ahead and make up with them that they're going to pay you back in a more expensive place. And that in the more expensive place, you're going to get the same price as the cheaper place. The cheaper place was 6. So even though we organize it in bubble in a more expensive place, but I can make up with you that you'll give me what the price is of the cheaper place because they're doing it for all the benefit. We just said a minute ago, they're doing it for their own benefit. Nevertheless, Rav did not take the full advantage. He only took 5 saw. Why did you take 5 saw? Because since he's a chashuv person, he wanted to be machmir, that people shouldn't take it so leniently and think that you're allowed to do it in other cases where you don't have this kind of an exception. And we even had before, Talmid Chacham has to be careful, and have people watch what you do. And because it's so complicated, the laws of ribis, even though technically you might allow to do certain things, we don't want you to do it in public. A Talmid Chacham shouldn't do that way. Should behave that way. Says the question. Ma'u lasted with the guitars came. Okay, we said that by fruits you're allowed to do that because it's common that you constantly buy and sell. What about, let's say, pieces of silver or other businesses that do we say also that the reasons that you gave before, that the reason why you're allowed to say I'm going to pay you back the more than what you gave me is because I'm going to go to another city which is a lot cheaper and for the same amount of money that I borrowed from you over here, fruits. I'm going to give you a lot more fruits. And we said the reason is because he gets extended credit. The reason why he's happy to schlep all the way to this other city is he's doing it for his own purpose so that he can get extended credit over there, which you won't get here because he's coming with his big orders, or that he'll get a better discount. Does it apply only to fruits and that kind of stuff, or grains, which is very, very common and therefore constantly buying and selling? Or it applies to any business deal? Doesn't matter. Grutais means pieces of silver, pieces of gold, which are not common. You have to have some left over, so you sell it. Does it work over there as well? That you can say that the reason why over here it's sold cheaper than over there, and he'll schlep all the way there to bring you back more for the same amount of money, is because of credit or that. Does it apply there or not? So Mora says a story. Amalek Bikish, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi, last came, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi tried to do this because Pishtin. He tried to do the same thing with linen, where one city was much cheaper than the other city. Rebbe refused, did not allow him. Nikadami, the others say the exact same story, but the other way around. Because Rebbe lasted the Grutois. Rebbe wanted to do that. Came Leinichu, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi did not allow because it only applies to cases which is very common, which is an everyday thing. So then we can say that they're prepared to schlep all the way to the other place and buy where it's sold cheaper because they're doing it for their own benefit. Okay, so Pardis, an orchard, let's say a wine, let's say a vineyard, and you want to buy and you want to prepay at the time when the grapes barely are budding, or they're very, very early stages, and you want to prepay now. So Rabbi Shmuel ben Abesi says, sorry, Pardisa, Rav also. Rav says you're not allowed to do that. Why? Because you're paying now a price which is much lower than what it's going to be worth by the time you pick it up. You're going to pick it up and it's full when the grapes have blossomed, and it's worth a lot more money. That's like a case of ribis.
That anyway, it's not an existence shit. You can't sell something that's not existing.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
If it hasn't come into bloom yet, it doesn't exist. You can't sell something that hasn't been existing.
No. This is already because it's not called a davar shalei baloy. It's already there on the tree, it's starting to bud. It's not like we learned before,
Right.
there's no fruits there at all. There's something here already there, but it's still in the early stages. So the value is much less than what it is by the time you're going to receive whatever you paid for. But so you prepay for these grapes, and you're getting it very cheap. So Rav says that's like a case of nothing so you're not allowed to. That's like ribis. That's like ribis because in other words, the only reason why I'm getting it so cheap is because I'm giving you the money in advance. You can use the money for 3 months until the grapes blossom completely. However, Rav also Shmuel Shadi. Now, why does Shmuel allow it? The Gemara explains. Rav asses kivan de lekamei shav yitvei, because since in the future it's going to be worth more. Mischazi, it appears ki aganatale. It appears that the reason why I'm getting rewarded, why I'm getting it so cheap, is because I waited and I allowed you to use my money during that in the interim period. So therefore, that's a case of aganata, which is like this. But Shmuel Shadi, why does Shmuel allow it? He says because there's nothing definite here. Who says that the grapes you can have a good year, a good crop? There's so many variables, there's so many different factors that can actually ruin your crop. It could be terrible thunderstorms, hail, or frosts, and kill the crop. And since the buyer takes this whole risk, so we don't look at it as a loan, we look at it as a business risk that the person is taking. And therefore, it's not considered ribas. And if he wins, and if he gets a good deal, it was a business deal. He took a risk and he won this time. Could just as well the crop have been lost. Ushmul Shari Kivan the Havibay Tiyua, because since it's possible that it should get ruined, what Rashi says Tiyua comes from the word regret, could be he'll regret ever investing in the first place. Therefore, it doesn't look like the reason why you're getting it so cheap is because you gave the person, you advanced the money and the person can use it. The reason why you get it so cheap is because you're taking a big risk. You don't know if you'll have the grapes in 6 months' time. Where there's a risk involved, or where there are other possible explanations why you're getting it so cheap, not because you lent the person the money, you gave use of the money, but rather because Beture, if the person, by Rashi, Beture means that the way this particular person, works around his vineyard is he brings in animals and they go plow around the area. And when the animals go around, they can't really control them. They can trample the vines and ruin the grapes. And there's a much stronger chance here that the grapes won't survive. Then Rav is moide that Betur, big loss, that it's not aganat. In other words, we can explain the reason why when you prepay, you're getting it cheaper is not because you advance the money. You know why you're getting it cheaper? The reason why you're getting it cheaper is because there's no, you're taking a very big risk, a huge risk in this case. Shmuel said, he said to these balabatim who would lend, they would have these sharecroppers, have this arrangement. Sharecroppers come, they work the field, and there were different ways of doing it. Some people, the sharecroppers brought their own seeds and planted, did everything, and they gave a percentage to the owner. And the owner lent the sharecropper the seeds, and the sharecropper had to pay back with tvua and pay a bit extra more than usual because the owner gave him the seeds to work with. So Shmuel would say to these to these people who would the owners of the field who would lend the seeds to the sharecropper, we say, Hafoichu ba'arim. You yourselves have to do a little bit of work in the land. But if you don't do work in the land, then it's a straight out loan. And the straight out loan, they're giving back to you not just the seeds that you gave them, but much more than that. Then it looks like you're getting ribis. But if you're working in the land, no longer it's a loan, it's your land. In other words, because they have the full rights over the land. But if you work with them, you're more like a partner, not like a lender. And therefore, so therefore you have a share in the land itself. Because we lie, if you don't, then it looks like a straight out loan, but also, and then you're not allowed to take the profits. You're only allowed to get back what you lent them in the first place. Rava said, to these people, these watchmen who used to watch the crops to make sure that everything works out all right. So he would tell these people that he would say to them, Pukugo, hafuchu bebeidori. He would tell the guards themselves. He would say that you should continue working. Okay, usually the guards, as soon as they came to the harvest time, they finished their work, but they wouldn't get paid until later when it came the time of threshing and so on, which is maybe a month or two later. They didn't need the guards anymore. And the problem was that because they paid them a little later, they would give them, because they delayed their payment, they didn't have an income yet, the balabat of the farmers, so they couldn't pay these workers, these guards. So they would wait until the threshing, and then around that time, which is when they started selling it, and then they would pay. But because they had to delay it, they would pay them a bit extra. So he said that's like ribis. Because the guards were supposed to get paid, they let you hold on to their money. As a result of that, when you gave them their money, you also added a little bit extra. That is a case of ribis. So therefore, he told these guards, do the slightest amount of work, something nominal, even after the time of harvest. Just stand a few minutes by the threshing floor, do something small. So then we can argue that you're still on a retainer, that you're still working. It's not that you finished your job 2 months ago and you're getting paid 2 months later and they're paying you extra. Your job has never ended. Your job goes all the way to the extension to the time of the threshing, and therefore you when they pay you at the time of the threshing, they're allowed to pay whatever they want because that's your pay and they can give you a matana. There was no loan here. The point is try to avoid treating it as if there was a loan. Said you should go stand and help out a little bit in the threshing floor. Otherwise, it shouldn't be that they pay your wages then it makes sense. Then it's as if you're still working and they don't have to pay you until that moment. And this Chiddush Edom Shalom is going to say, we had a few times that the wages doesn't get paid until the end of the job. The job isn't over until that point. So therefore it's all right. But you either gave a little bit extra. They're allowed to give you extra. That wage, they give you a bonus. They're allowed to give a bonus to a wage. The problem is only when it's a loan. So let's make sure that it's not treated as a loan. Rabbana said to Rav once, you in a way are actually involved in usury. And how is that? So he said, Kuli Alma said the whole world who has these, sharecroppers, Shokli Abom, that the sharecropper would give them, let's say, a fixed amount for Kor or a certain amount of the Tvua. And then the sharecropper would keep the rest. And usually they would give it to you in the month of Nisan. They would finish their job in Nisan and they would leave and they would give you their fixed amount. But not to add here, you let the sharecropper continue working until here, and then V'shokol Shitza. And then because they don't get paid for another month, so you have use of your money, whatever it is that you have to pay them, you can keep it longer, and you give them and V'shokol Shitza. And as a result of that, they're taking 6 kor. So l'chayda, it looks like ribus. Amalu, he said to them, Aten, on the other way around. He said, Aten. He said, no, it's as if you're saying, because they have to pay you 4 kor in Nisan, but because you told them, don't worry about it, pay me a month later. So you allow them to keep whatever it is that they made, and therefore when they pay you in ear, they pay you 2 extra kor. It looks like because you gave them use of whatever it is that tvua, they paying you more back. And that's not a case of ribis. He argued just the opposite. Atan ko'avidatun shaloi kedin. You guys are doing the wrong thing. Why? The arrangement is that the Oris at that time, he has the full rights to your land, and he can do whatever he wants. But but the fact is you chased them away in the month of Nisan when it's not really fully ready yet to be harvested on that. Mafsilatu become. You cause that the tvu is not really fully ripe, and you cause them to harvest it, an early harvest, and they're not getting the full value, so they're getting less out of the land. I let them remain on my land until the month of Ir, until everything really is full bloom, and then and they gain so much, they gain now so much more because I let them wait till it's all ready, and now therefore that they're paying me more. It's not a question of a loan. Rav Mori, Rav Angim obey the top line. Rav Mori Bar Rochel. Interesting that we call Mori by the name of his mother rather than the name of his father. So Rashi points out over here that Rachel was a daughter of Shmuel, and she was taken into captivity. And one of the captors fell in love with her, and at the end she ended up marrying him. He became a ger, and so therefore to make sure that everybody knows that Mori was good and proper, we say Bar Rachel, because he was conceived when the father was still a goy, and when by the time he was born, the father was already Megaya. So but because he was conceived when the father was a goy, we always call him by his mother's name, Mori Bar Rachel. So Rav Mori Bar Rachel, Mashkala Hunachi Beisa, a goy, he lent money to a goy, and the goy gave him as a security, gave him his house. And in the meantime, and Rav Mori Rachel lived in that house. Hadar Zavna LeRava. Then the guy turned around, unbeknown to Rava that this house was pledged as security to Rav Mori. This house was sold to Rava. Hadar Zavna LeRava. Notar Trese Yarchi Shasa. So Rav Mori waited 12 months, didn't pay any rent, and then Shakal Agabese, he took the rent and Amtir brought to Rav. And he said to Rav as follows. Hi, Deloy, I'm why did I pay your rent till now? This we learned before that, we said that the people from Mechuzah said that a regular mashkin, even if you don't speak out, you don't talk about how long it is, you don't make any conditions, is 12 months long. So the first 12 months, I had full rights over this mashkin. So I didn't have to pay any rent. And more than that, the guy wanted to pay me out and take his house back. He couldn't. But we said a mashkin is a minimum of 12 months. But now that the 12 months are over, so the guy has a right to pay me out. So that mashkin no longer really belongs to me. It's now yours. I want to stop paying your rent. So Rabbi now first of all excuse himself. Yeah, but if I would have known that you had this house as a mashkin, I would never have bought it in the first place. Why not? Because you learned before in the Gemara, the word we said that mashkin is the word shchayin of shachan, that the bar metzra of this particular property was actually Rav Mori. And we even have a machlekes rishonim that when we say that the bar metzra of a mashkin is Rav Mori, let's say, is that opposed to the whole world, or even as opposed to the very next door neighbor? Because the bar metzra generally is the next door neighbor. Do we say that the person who has the mashkin is even stronger than the next door neighbor, or are we saying that it's equal? Now, either way, technically, as all the Rishonim point out, Rav Mori could have chased Rava out. Rav Mori could have said, look, I'm the bar metzra, and by bar metzra, the din is you can take it right back. But as faces here, another Rishonim point out, Rav Mori obviously wasn't interested in buying the house. So this is what Rava said. I'm sorry, I didn't know that was your house. I would never have bought it. So now I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do the right thing. I'm not going to follow Jewish law that says that only for the first 12 months you can't chase the lender out. I'm going to follow the Goyish law. The Goyish law is as long as the guy did not repay the loan, it belongs completely to the lender. So you can stay in this house gratis. As long as he didn't pay, I'm not going to take any wages. So I'm not going to take any salary, any rent from you. Until the guy pays you back with money. Rav of Banish said to Rav Ashi, Chozi ma Rabbanon, it seems that these rabbis, it looks like they're eating ribs. What do you mean? The Yav, many Rabbanim here seem to be accused of being involved in usury. The Yav Zuzah Achamra B'Tishrei. They pay for the wine in the month of Tishrei, but that's not really the season for wine. Umivchela B'Tevis. Then they go Tevis when they go to collect the wine. They look for the best wine and take the best wine. Now, if they would have taken the wine at the time when they paid for it, they would be taking a slight risk. They don't know the wine will be good quality, will it become sour? They don't know. So it comes out because they prepaid, because they paid in advance, they're given an advantage. And what we don't have to pick up the wine today. You could wait till table because by then you'll know if the wine is a premium quality or whether it's going to go off or sour. So they have an advantage only because they prepaid. Isn't that ribis? Isn't that a case of having an advantage by advancing money? and in Tishrei, the price is not fixed yet. It's because we said before, if the price is fixed, then it's as if they bought it, any increase in value is their own advantage. By Tishrei, because it's too early, it's not yet the season, the price has not been fixed yet. So the Gemara says here, Amalei Inuname. So Ravash said an interesting thing. He said, you're wrong. Buy wine, he said, if wine, let's say, turns sour in the month of Tevis, it's not pshat, the way you understood. That in Tishrei, all wine, was good. And then something happened in Cheshvan or in Kislev, that's not what happens. If it turns sour in Tevis, that means all along it wasn't good quality wine. Just you didn't know. You didn't know. So all we're doing is in the month of Tevis revealing what was already there in the month of Tishrei, and they paid for wine, not for vinegar. So therefore, they have a right to get wine, but they don't really know what's wine until Tevis. So therefore, it's not a case of ribis. He said, they paid money to buy wine. They didn't pay money to buy vinegar. So from the month of Tishrei, already, whichever is going to remain wine is already wine, and whatever is going to turn to vinegar is already vinegar in the month of Tishrei. But they don't know. It's not obvious yet to the ordinary person in the month of Tishrei what's going to be. It's only Tevis what to reveal what actually happened already in Tishrei. So they're not getting something. It's not the shot that they would have gotten something, some advantage here by because they advanced the money. It's just now they're getting what they actually paid for, a barrel of wine. Ravina. Ravina would give money to the people who lived near the river of Shanvosa, and the people lived in the water there. And he would give them money before the season when they actually produced the wine, and he paid them the more expensive price. So he prepaid them, but he didn't pay the price of today. He paid them the price of what it's going to be worth by the time he's going to collect it. So he paid the right price for them, which is the time of collecting. So no ribis or anything else. But what they did was they always gave it extra. So now he was wondering, does that look like ribis? Because I advanced the money, and now they're giving me more than what I ordered 10 liters, and they give me 11 liters. Is that 11th liter like a case of ribis? They give me extra because I advanced the money. Also, came from Rabashi. Amale Mishari, am I permitted to use that money? Amale in yes. He said, yes, you can. Since you did not make up initially that, I'm paying you now, normally I'm entitled to 10 liters, I want you to give me 11 liters. But then it's a straight out case of ribis. It's just, you gave them money, they decide to give you extra, that's a matana they're giving you. And it's a gift, and therefore you're permitted. But I have other issues here. I bought the wine, now he's raising other problems. Don't do with ribis. So I bought wine from these people, but the land was actually stolen land. The real owners were supposed to pay tax to the government. They didn't pay, and the government said, well, if somebody wants to step in and pay their taxes, you have use of the land for this year. So is that considered geneva? And karka ain't an exelis. So therefore, I have no right to buy their wine. Malay, so he said, what do you call it? He said, Ravashi, it doesn't belong to these people. Can I use it or not? Amalei, he said to him, yes, you can. Because Ara Letaska Mishabada. Every land really belongs to the government and has to pay the taxes. Well, Balka, the government said, if you pay your taxes you can go ahead and use the land. And if you don't pay taxes, you don't. And he said if somebody else comes and pays the tax on your behalf, they can use the land. So everything perfectly legal because dinner the malchusa din. Papa said to Rabba, look at these people. Similar idea. There's also, besides the land tax, there was a head tax. And certain people couldn't afford to pay the head tax. So they would pay the tax on behalf of these people. And then and they would go ahead and tell these people, well, now we paid off your taxes. I want you to serve me. I want you to become my servant. So is that legal? Can you do that? Amalei, he said to him, Hashta now, if I would have died, I would not have been able to tell you the following thing. This is what Rav Sheshes actually said. That Morakayu, the Hani, that the seal of slavery of these people, the Tafsa de Malkamonov, sits by the government's treasury. And knows every single person in the government, it really is a servant of the government. And the Malkama, the king says, Mandalay Karga, that somebody who doesn't pay his head tax, Lishtabid, is now in servitude, Leman Karga, to the person who does pay his head tax. Again, it's a dinner, Malchus a dinner, and you're entitled to that. Rav Sa'udim is Achva de Rav. Rav Sa'udim was the brother of Rav. Takiv incha de Lemaila, he once grabbed a hold of people who were no good. And he made them sit there in the wagon of Rava and help schlep the wagon of Rava. So Rava said, you did the right thing. The Tanina we learned, see people not behaving properly, how are you allowed to make them work for you? So the pasuk that these people, the talking about like Eva Kanani, should work for you forever. And then the next pasuk, the next word is Uva'achechem, and your brothers. So we put a comma after the word Ba'achechem, and your brothers also you can make work for you. Even if you take a person that's all right, that's decent, you can also make them work for you as a servant. That your other brothers, that they all work together, one person to a brother, and you cannot make them work for yourself as a servant. Now, big machlekes are showing here when we say you have the right to take a person who is evil and make him work for you. Does that mean that you have to still pay them, or even without pay? If you see a bad person, you can go ahead and you can take them and make them pay. So some Rishonim hold that you have a right to take a bad person and make him serve make him serve you. Because in the pasuk of Achechem Yisrael Ish Ba'achiv, it says you should not make them work hard. It says Loi Tia Ba'B'Parach. So Ish Ba'achiv, a good person, you're not allowed to make him work hard. We're talking about people who are not good people. But it sounds like even without money. Others say Dafka with money. Omar Rav Chama is also machlekes whether the person that you paid the tax for, does he have a debt now that he has to repay you the tax or not? Or do we say that the tax money you pay to the government, that is in lieu of paying him for his service to you? Different opinions and all that. Omar Rav Chama said, Hi man, the Yoiv Zuz Lechavre, in an interesting case, you gave money to your friend, Lemizmer Lechamre. There was a big sale going on, let's say, and you said to the guy, here, I'm giving you $100, go buy me now $100 worth of wine. The guy forgot, was negligent, he didn't end up buying. So the din is, does he have to reimburse you? Mishalimle, he has to pay Kedika Azul, the price of a farvaso. This is a shulchan. This is a place that a lot of wine was sold. And the price that the guy has to find, even though where you are now, the price went zoomed up, he has to find you the wine for the price, the going price that was at the time when you asked him to buy it. I said this din before Rav Zvid. Amar, he said, when Rav Chama said he's in Yain Stam? When did he say his din only if the guy said, buy me wine? So therefore, you're responsible. You have to get that wine because you agreed, you accepted upon yourself that responsibility. But if the person who gave you the money said, Yayin zeh, I want you to buy this particular wine from this particular owner, then loy. Then if he didn't end up buying, he doesn't have to compensate you. He doesn't have to buy for you. Why not? Because me yema de mezavanelu. What guarantees do you have that even if he went there, that person would have sold him the wine? Since we're not sure if that person would have sold him the wine, how can you make a charge him and say, look, you didn't buy me the wine, I want you to compensate me. Rav Ashi says, Afilu yain stam nami loy. Rav Ashi disagrees with this whole din. He says, even if he stam says to the person, I want you to buy wine, since there are no guarantees, my timer, asmachti, that even if this person who said, okay, I'll do you a favor, I'll go buy wine. And if I don't buy wine, he says, I will pay you back, the money, and I'll make sure you get the wine, as much wine as you wanted, even though the price zooms right back up. It's only an asmachta because he didn't make a kinyan. He just said words, I'll do it. And asmachta lekanya, we already had before the argument for asmachta is kinyan or not. It's only like you're relying on words, and therefore there's no kinyan that took place here. He's not responsible to pay you, compensate you for the fact that he didn't buy you at this particular time when they had this, let's say, big sale. Well, Rav Ashi, so what's the question? Rav Ashi, you're telling me if I said, the guy said not only, okay, I'll do you the favor, he said, if I don't do it, I'll take care of it. No, he sort of committed himself. And you're saying that it's only a smachta. Doesn't Rav Ashi agree with the following din that nan? We actually learned, we will learn. Im oivir v'lo if he says, look, I want this property, this land, and if I don't plow the land, and if I don't till the soil, all that, Ashalim and Meitava, I'll pay you back, top dollar. And the din over there is that he's responsible. If he didn't work the land, he has to actually compensate and take care of all that. So what's the difference? We're asking about a big difference. There, it's up to you whether you plow the land or not, and he didn't do it, he's responsible. It's not a smachta. All you have to do is not be lazy and do it. But hoch over here, lav biyodeh. Here, he's relying on buying the wine from somebody else, and that is not biyodeh, that is not in his control, so therefore it's merely an asmachta. When you're not in control, you can't say that I would, that 100% as if the kinyan already happened, because how do you know it's going to happen? You're not in control. The Gemara says, Amar Rav says, Rabba, how do you make the three people, there were three people who gave money to one person. The mizben l'hum midi. The three people who gave money to one person, they should buy them something. The zavan l'chad benayu. Zavan l'kula. Even though he intended to buy for one, since three people gave him, commissioned him to buy this thing, as if he bought it for all three. But you know when we say that? The leitzar l'chasim inish l'chudik. That each individual person didn't wrap it up and give the money separately, as if to say a very particular, I wanted it for myself. If each one of them wrapped up the money, that's why that we want each one for ourselves. Is lemanda zoven zoven. Then the person he intended to buy for, he bought lemanda loy zoven loy zoven. And for the other two people he didn't have in mind, he didn't buy because each one was independent of the next. In fact, they all wrapped it up separately from each other. They're all individuals and they're separate from each other. Okay. Let's just go through two dots. Oh, you don't mind? We'll go just to 4 more lines. Hai situmta. This thing of a situmta is actually a big thing in halacha. Situmta literally means a seal you put on a barrel of wine. People will come in and look at the barrels. They would choose the barrels they want by the wine wholesaler. They will put some kind of a stamp or a seal. This is my barrel, and they would leave it with the wholesaler and take it later. And that's situmta. What kinyan is that? Yeah, we consider that kanya. We consider as if it's a kinyan, even though you didn't pick it up, you didn't pull it, you didn't do mishich, you didn't do hagbah, you just put the seal. What do you mean? In what way? In what way is it considered a kinyan? It means literally, it's a full-fledged kinyan. Just I put a seal on it, that is a kinyan already. And Rabbana says no. The kibul mishapara. It's not a proper kinyan. It's not mishicha hagbah. What is it? It's mishapara. The curse that we had. It's as if you already committed yourself, and if you change your mind, you'll be cursed. Like Neach and Der HaFlog and all that. The Hilchus and Allah is the Kibul Mishapara, it's only a Mishapara, but in a place, the Nihige, the Mikne Mamish Kani, if the minig is that's considered a kinyan, it's a kinyan. Now this is known as Kinyan Setumta. Kinyan Setumta, according to Rabbeinu Yain and others, is a kinyan Mehatayra. Others say it's only kinyan D'Rabbanan. example of kinyan setumta would be in the diamond business. They shake hands. If they want to do a deal, they just shake hands. It's called kiyas kaf. That is called setumta. If that's the general way of transacting deals in the diamond business, that becomes a kinyan setumta. And it's questionable whether it's a kinyan mahatayda or a kinyan rabbanon. Either way, you cannot. It's not just a mishapara; it's a valid kinyan. If you pat someone in the back and that's considered in this certain places, that's considered a deal. That's a deal. If we do certain things in that place, that's how we decide that it's a deal. Then it's a deal, and you cannot back out of that. And the question whether it's mahatayda or midrabanan is, what's the main thing of a kinyan? Is it the intent or the actual motions that you go through? There's a big machlekes is nachrein, Tzos and Siv and others. If it's the intent, then situmta is mahatayra, even though the method is not from the Torah, but the intent was definitely to make it a kinyan, and it's 100% because that's how they do it in this place. And mahatayra, the main part of a kinyan is not the lifting or the pulling. That's not the main part of the kinyan is the intention. How do we know what your intention is? So the Torah said, you hagbah, you do mashiach, whatever. But that's not the kinyan. The real kinyan is the intention. What you're doing, the action is only to I guess to prove to us what your intention is. That's one way of learning. But the other way of learning is that that the real kinyan is the act. The Torah says, you want to know how you kind of something? This is the only methodology you can use. Obviously, if you don't have intention to be kind, it doesn't work, but you need intention. But the intention is only to support the method. So setumta is not written anywhere in the Torah. So setumta, therefore, is only a kinyan de rabbanan. But nevertheless, it's a kinyan. And it has many, many ramifications. Okay, good luck, everybody. Yeshua Tov.
Goodbye.